Alright, hello everyone, this is Venom, and today we are about to talk some gaming news. Alright, so my Power World series is kind of slowing down right now. I don't got a lot more experiments I need to run right now, which is fine. Power World, and just like a lot of games, it has its cycles. It goes up and down. Until new DLC or a patch comes out, I mean, there's not much more for me to do. I've beat the bosses, I've gotten the pals I want, I've done a lot of experiments, I made a lot of videos on it, so, I mean, I've gotten what I want out of it. I've had a really good time doing it too. But there are other games coming out, and if someone ever tells you that, it's wrong to make content for other games, don't ignore that. I make content for the games I want to play. I can't sit here and stretch out Power content forever because, one, that would just be boring, and two, there's other games coming out. You can play other games. So, because of that, we're going to be talking about three games. We're going to talk about some big ones that are coming out or some DLCs that are currently being discussed. The first big one is going to be Monster Hunter Wilds. The second one we're going to talk about is going to be Dragons Dogma 2, some interesting stuff happening with it, or maybe not so interesting stuff, depending on your take on it, but we're going to talk about it regardless. And then afterwards, I'm going to end talking about Destiny 2. I know it's a subject not everybody likes to talk about, or even cares about, because people are always like, oh, you always complain about Destiny 2. Yes and no. We complain about it because we love it, but I'll put the boring one at the end for you guys, so... First and foremost, we have got Monster Hunter Wilds coming out on February 28th. This is, of course, a game I'm looking forward to very much. There's another beta coming out, too, I believe on February 5th or 6th, so I'm going to be playing on that as well. We get to fight some new monsters, I believe, so that's going to be pretty cool. I haven't kept up with the Monster Hunter Wilds news as much as I would like to, just because I've been doing stuff with Power World and other games, so some of this is going to be news to me, but we're going to be ramping up our Monster Hunter Wilds content, and we're going to be playing it and putting out guides as soon as it comes out as well. Speaking of which, I've also got my series where I solo every monster in Monster Hunter World with the Lance. Of course, the community voted on what weapon I was going to learn to master next, and the Lance is what came out on top, and of course I ended up loving it. I ended up loving the Lance. Lance is easily tied for my favorite weapon now, along with the charge blade. It is a weapon that I feel like if I absolutely positively have to win a fight, I can swap to my lance and it'll be easy going. I had that series going. I've still got 2 more fights to do. It's been about a month since I did any other fights. I wanted to take a break, but I've still got to do the 2 Black Dragon fights, Elatrion and Fatalis with the lance, so look for those here soon. Or look for my attempts too. I don't know if I'm going to get past them or not. I'd like to do them all solo, but look for the attempts at least to come out soon. That said, like I said, Monster Hunter Wilds is coming out February 28th. We'll probably pre-order. I'm not usually too up on pre-orders anymore. I don't really like them as much. But for something like Monster Hunter Wilds, yeah, I'll probably do it. We play the beta. It's definitely a game I'm going to want to play. I got no problem going ahead and pre-ordering it now. More so I don't got to worry about getting it at the last minute. I can go ahead and load it up the day before, which hopefully we'll be able to do, and I'll play when it comes out. Yeah, we're going to swap. We're going to talk about Dragons Dogma 2. Now, Dragons Dogma 2 released kind of the same way Starfield did. It released to a lot of praise, a lot of people loving the game, and then kind of as it went on, it kind of went. In fact, let's go take a look. I'm curious to see what we're looking like right now on the Steam page. Let's take a look. Dragons Dogma 2. Let's go to store page. I'm curious to see what the reviews are right now. Review page. And there we go. We're down to mixed. So we went from positive all the way down to mixed. Now, before I say my 2 pieces as to why it's mixed, I want to go ahead and see what some of the comments look like, because I got a theory on my own. See, after finishing it, I conclude Dragons Dogma 2 might be the biggest disappointment of our experience. I could go on for paragraphs, yada yada. Dark Arisen exists. Okay, see right there. I think that Dark Arisen is going to be a reason for a lot of these, but basically, he felt like the game was unfinished and he missed Dark Arisen. Game has been updated in months, feels really abandoned, needs optimization. Yeah, there's a lot of bugs in the game. Game's still bugging, crashes sometimes. Mixed Point 24 game is not necessarily bad, it's just okay, sure, performance issues. So, performance, and the big one that I want to talk about is going to be Dark Arisen. You see, the game itself is fine. I mean, it did release a lot of bugs. They did come out with some more optimization stuff for it. It's not 100%, but it could definitely be better. Now, the problem I'm seeing is that the combat system in Dragon's Dogma is fairly unique, so if you're not a fan of that already, you may not like it, so that could easily give you a mix. But the big one, I think, is that Dragon's Dogma 2 is suffering from the success of Dragon's Dogma 1, specifically the Dark Arisen DLC. You see, Dark Arisen was a DLC that came out for Dragons Dogma 1. It added an island to the game that you could go to anytime, and it was kind of like a roguelike island. You could actually go through. There's some crazy speedrunners out there, but it released an island that was essentially a dungeon you can do over and over again, and the deeper you go, the better items you can get. You can get some weapons and some items and rings that literally change up how you would play the game. It was very difficult. Except for some of the speedrunners. See, some of these level 1 speedrunners just make me feel insecure, but it was very difficult, really cool. You could play it over and over and over again. People are still playing it to this day. It was extremely fun. It was a great add-on to Dragons Dogma 1. If you're a fan of Dragons Dogma 1, Dark Arisen, coming over to 2, yeah, the base game of 2 does feel empty. It's hard going from Dark Arisen, then going to Dragons Dogma 2, and not having that real in-game grind, not having those rings or those, super crazy in-game items. It feels weird. On top of that, again, there's still some bugs in there. Personally, I still love the game. It's still fun, but there's nothing for me to do now. I played through it twice. You can play through it over and over on the same character. I've done that. I've about maxed out every job, so right now there's just nothing for me to do. Now, we're currently waiting for the DLC to come out. They announced there was going to be a DLC. I think it was like the Dragon Princess or something. But we've heard nothing about it since release at this point. Now, I've seen rumors talking about how the Dragon Princess is going to be a new kind of DLC, how you're going to take over a different character, play as a different character. I really hope that's a rumor because that's not typically a good look for these kind of games. And we're putting all this time and energy into our character, building him up, leveling him up, doing the adventures, that kind of thing. We want to go into the DLC with that character, not swap to another character. Now, it could be something to where you swap to that character temporarily, or you can go back and forth, but regardless, if our main character isn't playable, that's going to be a bit of an issue. However, like I said, that was just a rumor. As of right now, there's been nothing. Like right now, you guys can see I'm on Google. I just typed out Dragons Dogma 2 DLC, and there's been nothing. I mean, even up to a couple days ago, people are still speculating. They're seeing hints, or people are doing that crap where they look in DLCs or look at updates and look at what things have been updated and looking through the code, and they're trying to see what DLC hints there might be, and that's what they're doing right now. As of right now, there is nothing official released. We have gotten nothing. We don't have any idea about what the story is going to be, how it's going to play, if we're going to get any new classes. There's literally nothing, and we're still waiting. I mean, even here, back in September 4th, we're still waiting for them to announce this DLC or to let us know when it's coming out. We got nothing. So, right now, Dragons Dogma 2, it's still a very fun game to play, but people are... I mean, we're way outside of when the expansion honestly should have been out to keep this game relevant. I mean, I'm sure when it comes out, there's going to be a big rush of people to go back and play it, but if it's not on the level of Dark Arisen, I don't see this going over very well. Dark Arisen was very, very fun. It offered, new quests. It offered secrets. It offered new armor and weapons. It offered new skills. I mean, it offered a lot of stuff in there. We don't get the same kind of experience with Dragons Dogma 2. The people who are going to come and play it are going to be the main fans that were playing Dragons Dogma 1. They're not going to want to play 2. I mean, we need something that can play over and over and over again. That's one of the appeals to Dragons Dogma, is that you can play it over and over and over again, especially those dungeons. So, we'll see what happens with that. Now, finally, the game that people love to hate on, Destiny 2. Now, I'm going to say this too. If you don't play Destiny 2 and you see the game from the outside, you see what the community complains about from the outside, it can be really confusing to understand why people are bitching about the game so often. Unless you play it, it's hard to understand why people complain about the game. It's like playing an MMO. I mean, you can play it for a little bit, but unless you actually get down to the end game and start seeing how these in-game systems works, you really don't understand what the issues might be with it. And I'll explain what I mean here in just a second. The Destiny community has been complaining about a few things with the game. All legitimate, by the way. It's something that is legitimate and something that I think people need to remember, too. It's not people complaining just to complain. We love the game. We're complaining because there are legitimate issues in the game that need to be fixed, and we haven't seen that. We've seen resources squandered. We've seen people get fired from the jobs who shouldn't have been. Mass layoffs. We've seen squandered time. We've seen squandered money. And we've seen people not being held accountable in the game. And Destiny 2 has got a crazy big and a crazy, good community. Bungie was really big on doing community puzzles and community events where it took the entire community, or at least a huge chunk of us. I mean, doing our individual parts to figure out the certain codes or certain events, and it makes the community, pretty close knit. So whenever you kind of piss off the community, don't piss off a community that you build to be tight-knit. What's going on right now is that people have gotten tired of a couple things. One, the seasonal model. Specifically, there being not a lot of content there. Two, all the content that was taken from us not being returned to the game. All the sunset stuff, because we still want that to come back. And then three, kind of ties into that is player retention is shitty. We get new people that come in and try the game all the time, but they don't stick around because they don't know what's going on and they don't know what they should be doing. Now, let me take a drink here, and then we're going to talk about the seasonal content. That was hot, and I took too much. I didn't want to drink that big of a swig. That was hot. So for a while now, Bungie has been doing what we call seasonal content. Basically, every quarter they have like mini stories going on, along with the overarching DLC. So each quarter we've got these little mini stories going on, and they've either put them out one of two ways. Either they've released everything kind of at the end, and you can do all the content at your own pace, unlocking things, doing the story, whatever, or they drip feed it to you, and you do like a little mission every week after week, until you get to the end of the season. Now, people have complained about that because, one, it's predictable, and two, one of the biggest complaints are that people were tired of the time gating. Now, that is a double-edged sword because, yes, people were tired of time gating, but we also have people complaining that if they put out all the story at once, they would have nothing to do. Now, I am vehemently on the side of releasing all the content at once. People who will complain about not having enough content to do, a very small percentage of the community, as far as if they've actually put out enough content, by the way. That's going to be another issue we're going to talk about. But it's always better to give players the options, and I'd rather have the option to finish up everything at once in a day or two. I work. I'm a grown man. I don't got time to log in every single week and, play these missions. I got other stuff to do, other games to play. I'd rather, when I'm ready to play Destiny, be able to sit down and finish everything and be like, okay, I'm good to go. It's people that play it every single day and are going to blow through the content no matter how much content there is, that are going to complain about it. You can put 1,000 hours of content in Destiny 2, and someone's going to go through it, in that 1,000 hours. They're not going to no-life it and go without sleeping and get upset when there's no more content to play. So you just got to ignore those people. But what's happened here recently is that Bungie decided to put out something called episodes. Episodes are basically glorified seasons. And in the second episode, they decided to go ahead and release all the content for the episode up front. I say all the content, even then it was only like a third of it because they decided to divide the episodes up into 3 acts. So they would release all the content for the act up front. We went through it, and we found and kind of proved to Bungie there was a major issue. You see, when the second episode came out, I myself went through and played through it. I was playing, I was having a good time, and then it ended, and I hadn't realized that the content had ended. The whole episode's content for that act was done in less than like 45 minutes for me. Shocked the crap out of me, because there just was not a lot of content, and that's the problem. I and several other people immediately started complaining, like, well, that's it? Where's all the content at? And of course, people were like, well, that's why you don't release it all up front, because you're going to finish it all super quick. No, this was not a matter of there being a good amount of content there and us finishing it quickly. There just was not that much content to begin with. And when you put it all together like that and don't, have us do a weekly mission, it becomes just that much more glaring just how little content there has been added to the game. And the way that episodes work is that overall you're going to get less content too compared to seasons. You're just going to get, I went through and did the math, and you get like 25% less content. It doesn't really matter what the math is. The fact of the matter is Bungie was just not making a lot. I think he did like 2 real missions, and that was the end of what was supposed to be like a 6-week stretch of stuff. I mean, there was not enough there to fill up an hour, let alone 6 weeks. So that's what has kind of popped out. Players kind of had proof, like, yeah, you guys don't really put out too much content. That's what people are upset about. On top of that, there have been tons of bugs. Every single update and every single expansion, or not every expansion, every episode, every new act, every update, something's been breaking. Something's been breaking on the game. It's gotten worse and worse, especially since Bungie is now laid off, and I say laid off specifically, over 320 people from their team, including, I believe, security people and some QA testers or some quality control people, and it shows in the game. Hackers are running rampant in PvP, even PvE now. We've got bugs, like game-breaking bugs, every single time there's some kind of update coming on, just breaking random crap. And on top of that, of course, throughout the entire history of Destiny, they continuously are nerfing things that the community like to play with. They're nerfing abilities, they're nerfing weapons, they're nerfing armor, which really starts to wear on you after a while. Like, you make a good build, you got something set up for a Grandmaster, and then Bungie comes in, this is doing way too well, we want to increase how much you use in other crap, so we're going to nerf this into the ground and make you try to use everything else. And of course, it's always better to just buff everything versus nerfing, but somehow Bungie has just never really got that memo. Like, stop nerfing the stuff people like to play with because we like to play with it. Buff everything else. We don't want to play with the other crap. I don't, like, for example, me, I don't like using the Arc subclass. I just don't. Void is my favorite. I like being invisible. I like all the Void keywords. I don't necessarily like the Arc ones too much, but other people do. Now, you nerfing Void and nerfing something like Invisibility or Devour, stuff like that, is not going to get me to play with the other subclasses anymore. It's going to get me trying to figure out how to now power up that Void subclass even more, or get me to just not play the game at all. So Bungie really just has to update and increase the power of other stuff and stop nerfing it, especially exotics. I mean, we got tons of exotics that just nobody touches that they could just do total reworks for. They keep trying to buff what effects they've got on them already. I mean, at this point, you're better off just go ahead and relaunch the exotic with a totally new effect or something like that. Like something like Frosty Ease, the Frosty Ease for the Hunter. They increase how you, or they give you power as you run. Stuff like that I never use. Some people do, but stuff like that could easily be reworked to do something with stasis. I mean, it's called Frosty Ease. It's got a, it kind of sounds like, guys. So there'd be absolutely nothing wrong, in my opinion, with relaunching that. But I say all that to say this. We've got to the end of the Light and Dark saga right now. I'd hoped that a lot more people would stick around in the game, but I absolutely cannot blame them because of what's happened with the seasonal model. Now, the expansion itself was great. The final shape, to me, ended the Light and Darkness saga in a way that if you wanted to stop playing the game right then and there, that final cutscene where you're staring at the Traveler as your Guardian, or your Guardian staring at the Traveler there in space, just sitting there kicking your feet, watching the Traveler, that is the perfect ending as far as I'm concerned for Light and Darkness. Now, this I'm considering the codename Frontiers is kind of a relaunch in my opinion. Instead of doing one major expansion per year, they're going to be doing two moderate expansions, and I got the chart up here on screen. We're essentially going back to the 4 seasonal, or the 4 seasons model. You can see here that they kind of got those. And each expansion is going to have 2. So we're going to have 4 total. And right now, the first expansion coming out is going to be Apollo, and then at the second half of the year, it's going to be Behemoth. Now, you can see on the left side, all the stuff that we're going to be getting. We got new stories, locations, missions, weapons, gear, and raids. I mean, all that's pretty standard. The seasonal update says new and reprised activities. I don't know what reprised activities we're going to be getting, but of course that means recycled content. That could be good or bad. It just depends on what Bungie decides to recycle. One of the big things here too that's been on the kind of in the news cycle is that we're still asking for Wrath of the Machine. When I say we, by the way, too, I want to be completely upfront. I don't care for Wrath of the Machine as a raid 2. I played it. I still like Kingsfall better, but I understand that the community likes Wrath of the Machine the most. So for me, it doesn't make any sense that they haven't got that out there. Until you go back and remember, they just fired 320 people, that they were basically not using all these funds for what they should have been doing. They were kind of dragging their ass. I mean, again, they've squandered time and they've squandered money. So anything that would take time and money at this point, I'm not giving Bungie a pass for, because you had that time and money, you squandered it, you didn't listen to the community. I've got no sympathy now that you're struggling, except for the people getting fired. Those are the only people I feel sorry for, are the people losing their jobs because of what the execs have done and how poorly Bungie's handled all this. Well, we continue on from there. New gear and artifact mods. I still hate artifact mods. I get it. They're cool. They're something nice to use for the season. But I hate artifact mods because if you make a cool build with them, you're never going to get to use it again. That's why every build I make, I never make a build that uses an artifact mod. I don't even really use them anymore. I just care about what the seasonal champion mods are. And then any mods I can slap on that are not going to... I mean, they can help my build, but they're not going to be, my build won't be dependent on them. So past that, I just hate artifact mods. I wish they would give us something to where we just had a pool of artifact mods we can choose from or something like that. They need to do something, because I'm tired of getting cool mods and then not being able to use them again for next season's. But that's a whole other issue. New modifiers and challenges, new sandbox meta, new events, and then finally reward passes, exotic weapons and ornaments, legendary weapon and armor ornaments, gear upgrade resources, cosmetic more, so that doesn't change. So that's what's going to be on the reward pass. Seasonal update, it's basically the same thing. Now the expansion, new stories, locations, missions, stuff like that, it's pretty much the same things you'd normally be getting out of expansions, but hopefully we're going to be going someplace new. Now, there's a lot of speculation. Like, right now, Bungie has got literally the universe in their hands. They can take the story, they can make whatever story they want. They've got a lot of open-ended stories they can still tell. We've still got the Vex, we've still got the Nine. We're about to go into the final episode. That's going to involve the Hive and the Taken. We got, I mean, we could go to Torbato, we can go to Risk, we can do a lot of different things. We can go to just totally new solar systems. We got a totally open universe right now, and I am very curious to see where Bungie takes us with it. Now, that's where we are right now. Like I said, the player base is at the lowest it's ever been, I believe. It's bleeding players right now. We really need a way to bring in new players and to keep them. And I'm going to end with this, saying the exact same thing we've been saying for a while. The only way it's going to happen is, if Codename Frontiers, is successful, because this will be a good spot for new players to come in. If this new story's got nothing to do with the old ones, you can essentially kind of have a restart here, and players can come in and play this. Or, and this is something that I would like them to do regardless, bring back all the old content that they had sunset, the Red War and everything onward, and give it back to us. They got a lot of ways they can do that, but my opinion is that the best way they're going to get new players to come in is to get them invested in the story. The only way to do that is to give us back the Red War and all the content leading up to where we're at. We should have everything in the game. Like, we paid for it, we should have it. Now, the concern is that, there's not enough room, or, it's going to be too big. Make all the different expansions, downloadable for free. If you're finished with an expansion, okay, fine. You can get rid of that one. You can delete it. You can go back and download the next one. You can do whatever you want. I mean, you can keep whatever expansions you want, get rid of them, but make it like that. That's what we used to do with the old Halo maps. I mean, you download the ones you want, play them. If you don't want to play them anymore, get rid of them. You can do the same thing here. It would not be that difficult. Oh, I say, in theory, it shouldn't be that difficult, but with Bungie's spaghetti code, who knows? But that is where we're at right now with upcoming stuff in gaming. Waiting to see what that new Pokemon game is going to be. I think it's like Pokemon A or Pokemon... I forgot what it was. It's going to be kind of like Legend of Arceus. I can't wait to see that one, even though I'm still pissed at Nintendo for the crap they're pulling with Power World. Hopefully Power World success and... hopefully Power Success kind of helps them out, and hopefully this lawsuit doesn't go anywhere. I'll talk about that one in another video, but that's kind of where I'm at as far as games right now. Those are the three big ones: Monster Hunter, Dragons Dogma 2, and Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is always there in the background for me, but Monster Hunter is going to be the big next one, so look out for that one, Monster Hunter Wilds. We got a month, and then we're going to be hardcore. We're going to be doing guides, we're going to be doing hunt videos, we're going to be trying to learn new weapons. I've got two, now that we can hold two weapons while we're playing. I've got my two. I've got my Charge Blade and I've got my Lance, so hopefully we have a good time with that. I'm already looking forward to the DLC, because I'm sure there will be some kind of DLC, just how Monster Hunter World came out with Iceborne. Yeah, I can't wait to see whatever DLC comes out for Wild. So that's going to be a whole new set of monsters, a whole new set of difficulty. It's basically going to be the G rank stuff, so I can't wait for that. I'm sure I get through the main story pretty quickly and just, kind of max out everything there, get all the armor sets and whatnot until the DLC comes out. And when DLC comes out, it's going to be... That's where you usually get some of the craziest fights. So that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you for coming by. That has been gaming news coming up for now, and what's going on with Power World and all the other games I'm playing. We're preparing for Monster Hunter Wilds. This is a big one. So thank you all for coming by, and I will see you all in the next video.